industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back.
As Bieber grew older, hints of unease started appearing. In a 2020 live stream, fans noticed Bieber's tone when speaking to Diddy, a tone that carried more than admiration. He seemed almost wary. After Diddy's arrest, a source close to Bieber even suggested he regretted ever associating with him, distancing himself from the mogul's influence. The Yummy music video took things a step further. Its symbolism struck a nerve with fans who began to speculate that Bieber was alluding to the darker side of fame, possibly even the exploitation young artists endure. The video showed scenes of young children on display, set against a lavish, greedy audience. It was cryptic, but many wondered if Bieber was pointing to an industry he now saw as predatory. Usher's year at Flavor Camp.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
At just 14, Usher entered Flavor Camp, a wild, almost infamous mentorship program created by Diddy to guide young artists. But Flavor Camp wasn't just any camp. This was Diddy's world, filled with late-night parties, a revolving door of celebrities, and the industry's high-stakes glamour. For a teenager like Usher, it was supposed to be the fast track to fame and success, a chance to learn the ropes from one of music's most influential figures. But the camp showed him more than just how to make it big. It exposed him to a side of fame that was far from the glossy exterior he might have imagined. In later interviews, Usher hinted that he saw a lot of curious things he didn't fully understand at the time. To him, it seemed like a rite of passage. But the reality was that it was a crash course in the music industry's darker corners. Usher never directly spelled out what he experienced, but the fact that he didn't understand it back then only adds to the mystery and hints at the intensity of it all. Tupac and Biggie, friends to enemies.
You want to set it off? Yeah, I'm scared to do some freestyle. I'm scared to do some freestyle. Blow, I'm too high.
Tupac and Biggie started as friends, two young stars in the rap world who admired each other's talent and vision. In the early days, Tupac had even encouraged Biggie to stick with Diddy's Bad Boy records, predicting it would make him a superstar. But everything changed in 1994 with the infamous robbery that left Tupac both physically and emotionally scarred. That night, Tupac was shot and robbed in a New York studio, and he believed Biggie and Diddy had somehow set him up. Biggie denied it, but Tupac saw his friend's shock and confusion as guilt, and that sense of betrayal tore them apart. What began as suspicion turned into one of the most heated rivalries in music history, fueling the East Coast versus West Coast feud that drew in countless fans and artists on both sides. Diddy, as Biggie's producer and mentor, became a central figure in the feud, often seen as the power behind Biggie's throne. The tension only escalated from there, with each artist releasing music that took shots at the other, turning what had once been friendship into outright hostility. Kim Porter, the ex-partner's tale. Her relationship with Diddy was far from the fairy tale it might have seemed on the surface. For years, they were the picture of a high-profile couple often seen at events and in the tabloids. But beneath that glamorous facade, Kim's life was reportedly overshadowed by Diddy's intense control. People close to her have shared stories about Diddy monitoring her every move, calling her dozens of times a day, and even tapping her phone to keep track of her conversations. It's the kind of surveillance most would associate with an investigator, not a partner. Kim once confided that Diddy's controlling behavior reached unsettling extremes, making it hard for her to live freely. The shooting with Jennifer Lopez and Shine. The 1999 nightclub shooting involving Jennifer Lopez, Shine, and Diddy has become one of the most notorious scandals in hip-hop history. It was supposed to be an ordinary night out in New York, with Diddy and Lopez, then Hollywood's power couple, attending a party at Club New York. Things took a sharp turn when an altercation broke out after Diddy reportedly bumped into another clubgoer spilling his drink. What began as a minor spat escalated within seconds. Before anyone realized what was happening, gunshots erupted, leaving 3 people injured and sending clubgoers into a panic. As chaos ensued, Diddy, J-Lo, and Shine quickly fled the scene in a Lincoln Navigator. They were stopped by police shortly after, with a gun found in the vehicle. While Jennifer Lopez was cleared almost immediately, the media and public watched as Diddy and Shine were pulled into a legal firestorm. It was a shocking turn for Diddy, one of the biggest names in music, who now faced potential prison time. In the end, though, Diddy's legal team, headed by powerhouse attorney Johnny Cochran, managed to cast enough doubt to secure his acquittal, and he walked away relatively unscathed. Shine, however, was not so fortunate. At just 21 years old, Shine was a rising star signed to Diddy's label, Bad Boy Records, and he found himself the scapegoat for the incident. In court, Shine admitted he fired a gun that night, claiming he'd acted in self-defense after fearing for his own life. But the jury didn't buy it. He was convicted of assault, reckless endangerment, and gun possession, ultimately receiving a 10-year prison sentence. For Shine, this night marked the collapse of a promising career before it even had the chance to truly take off. He'd grown up idolizing Diddy, and this shooting wasn't just a traumatic event, but the end of his trust in his former mentor. Cassie, $30 million lawsuit.
While he was there, and that he in fact raped her shortly before she left him. She said she did not want to have sexual relations with him.
Her relationship with Diddy seemed like a classic showbiz romance. 9 years together, with public appearances that showed the glitz and glamour of their lives. But when the relationship finally ended, a much darker picture came to light. In her $30 million lawsuit, Cassie revealed allegations that painted Diddy as a man driven by control and manipulation, making her life anything but glamorous behind the scenes. According to Cassie, she endured years of physical and psychological abuse. Diddy allegedly controlled her movements, monitored her activities, and kept her in a constant state of surveillance, deciding where she could go and with whom she could speak. The lawsuit also described even more disturbing behavior, with claims that he forced her into situations she found deeply unsettling, allegedly making her engage with others on his command while he documented the encounters. Cassie claimed that she became trapped in a cycle of emotional trauma, manipulated into compliance, and often left feeling powerless. It was a harrowing look into the private life of a woman whose public image seemed carefree and successful. Her decision to file the lawsuit was more than just a step toward reclaiming her life. It was an enormous risk. By bringing these allegations into the open, Cassie exposed her vulnerabilities and cast Diddy's polished reputation in a stark new light. The lawsuit quickly attracted widespread media attention, leading to intense scrutiny of Diddy's past relationships and his behavior with other women. While Diddy settled the case almost immediately, the damage to his public image was done. Cassie's courage to come forward resonated with others, particularly those who had been connected to Diddy and felt silenced by fear or intimidation. Cassie's revelations didn't just impact Diddy's career, they sparked a wave of empowerment among others who had stayed silent, wondering if they'd be believed. Making the Band: The Dark Reality of Reality TV. Making the Band was a reality TV show with all the drama, ambition, and high-stakes viewers craved, but behind the scenes, contestants went through grueling and often humiliating tasks that had little to do with their musical talent. Diddy, at the helm as the show's creator and judge, put young artists through challenges that pushed them physically and mentally, sometimes to their breaking point. One of the most notorious moments came when he sent a group of contestants on a long trek across New York City, demanding they walk all the way to Brooklyn for a slice of cheesecake from a specific bakery. To an outsider, it might have seemed like a quirky reality show stunt, but for those young artists, it was a degrading task that took a toll on their spirits. The Cheesecake Walk became a symbol of the show's harshness, with many fans and contestants later questioning what purpose it served in building musical careers. Viewers watched these young people chase fame, thinking they were witnessing the making of stars. But what many didn't realize was the strain it placed on the contestants. Diddy's methods were tough, and his expectations were relentless. Over time, those who had experienced the show firsthand spoke out, revealing that Making the Band wasn't just a competitive platform, It was a grueling reality check that broke more than a few dreams. For Freddie P., a member of the band Da Band, this experience left lasting scars. Years after the show ended, he opened up about how the experience affected his mental health. Freddie recalled specific moments when he felt pushed and bullied by Diddy. He described feeling trapped, as if he were a pawn in a game where Diddy held all the cards. Freddie also revealed that Diddy threatened him during heated moments, making him fearful of stepping out of line. At one point, Diddy allegedly told Freddie he could buy every house on his block, cut the power, and have him popped every time he stepped outside. For Freddie, these threats weren't empty words. They represented the power imbalance that haunted him even after the cameras stopped rolling. The death of Big Jake and Keef D's confession.
You sure had a long time to think about it, but if you haven't been in those butt-naked parties, even some of the preachers been in those parties, and they wasn't on their knees praying for God. See, they was praying for somebody to have come real quick or something, but I wasn't there, but there's proof of it.
The story of Big Jake's death and Keef D's later confession adds a dark, unsettling layer to the legacy of Diddy and the notorious East Coast-West Coast rap feud. Big Jake, a close friend and bodyguard of Suge Knight, was shot and killed in 1995 after a scuffle between the crews of Death Row Records and Bad Boy Records. This incident was one of the early violent confrontations that turned the East Coast-West Coast rivalry into something much more dangerous and personal. For both Diddy and Suge, it was no longer just about music or competing for the top spot in the industry. This was a battle that began spilling out into real life with real, deadly consequences. Keef D, a gang member from Compton and an associate of Suge Knight's rival crew, later became an infamous name tied to these events. Known for his connections within the Los Angeles gang world, Keef D eventually confessed to his role in the events surrounding Tupac's murder. He admitted he was present during the shooting that killed Tupac and claimed he was acting under instructions from people who wanted to settle scores and protect their own interests in the music industry. While Keef D never directly implicated Diddy in Tupac's murder, his confession cast a long shadow. His connection to both the East Coast and West Coast factions raised questions about the power and influence these rap moguls held and what they might be willing to do to protect their own. But hey, let's pause for a second so you can quickly subscribe to our channel and don't forget to comment your thoughts so far. Control over female artists.
$800-900, I'll give it to you. Don't sign this. This is just a way to get you to never be able to publicly speak about what we have experienced.
Diddy's relationship with the female artists on his label has often been clouded by stories of control and manipulation. Aubrey O'Day, a former member of the girl group Danity Kane, is one of the most outspoken voices about the pressures she faced working under Diddy. Aubrey claimed that Diddy's influence went far beyond just helping to shape the group's sound and image. He wanted total control over her life and career. According to Aubrey, Diddy would make advances, implying that her success was conditional on more than just talent. When she didn't respond the way he wanted, she felt the consequences. She described how her career suffered, how suddenly opportunities seemed to disappear, and how she felt pushed out of the spotlight she'd worked so hard to enter. Aubrey's story wasn't isolated either. Other female artists who worked with Diddy have echoed similar experiences, feeling as though their careers were tightly wound around his personal whims and decisions. As their producer and label head, he had the power to make or break them, and many felt that stepping out of line, even slightly, meant risking everything. Female artists felt compelled to play along, not just as professionals, but as people caught in an environment where defiance could lead to doors being shut. Diddy's alleged threat against Kid Cudi.
Sean Diddy Combs that we have to talk about. And the question becomes, how will prosecutors prove this?
The story of Diddy's alleged threat against Kid Cudi sounds like something straight out of a crime thriller, but it's a real and disturbing claim that leaves many questioning just how far Diddy's influence and anger might reach. According to reports, when Kid Cudi briefly dated Cassie, Diddy wasn't just unhappy. He reportedly took his frustration to a dangerous level. Cassie later claimed in a lawsuit that Diddy, feeling possessive and enraged, had threatened to blow up Kid Cudi's car. This wasn't an empty threat either. Cudi confirmed that soon afterward, his car mysteriously exploded in his driveway. Cudi's admission added a chilling element to the already complex web surrounding Diddy's relationships and his reactions to anyone who got close to his ex. The fact that Cudi's car did, in fact, blow up left many people wondering if Diddy's power in the industry also extended into something far more intimidating. For Kid Cudi, the experience must have been a terrifying wake-up call, a reminder that dating someone in Diddy's inner circle could have consequences beyond a few harsh words or a public fallout. Nadia Rubin, victim of the nightclub shooting.
And bravado at first. A lot of pushing and shoving, raised voices, hands, but then I saw them reach in their waist and draw from their hip. And I knew.
Nadia Rubin's life was forever changed one night in 1999 at Club New York. What was supposed to be an ordinary night out turned into a nightmare when gunshots broke out, leaving 3 people injured, including Nadia. She was shot in the face, a traumatic injury that not only scarred her physically, but left her dealing with the emotional trauma of that night for years to come. Nadia has spoken about the moments leading up to the shooting, recalling the chaos and the terror as she suddenly realized she had been hit. For Nadia, the experience has always carried an added layer of horror because she firmly believes that Diddy himself pulled the trigger. Witnessing the shooting up close, she remembers watching Diddy and Shine both take out their guns, a sight she says she'll never forget. Diddy's former bodyguard speaks out.
You know what I'm saying? That's what a lot of crews back at that time was doing.
Roger Bonds, Diddy's former bodyguard, has shared some disturbing stories from his time working up close with the music mogul. As someone who moved in Diddy's inner circle, Bonds witnessed the side of him that wasn't meant for the public eye, seeing things that made him question the lengths Diddy would go to control people around him. Bonds has recounted incidents of abuse and manipulation, sharing how Diddy's power wasn't just about business decisions, but extended into the personal lives of those who got close to him. One of the most unsettling incidents Bonds describes is from a night when he had to pick up Diddy and Kim Porter, Diddy's then partner, after an argument. According to Bonds, when he arrived, he saw Kim with a visibly broken nose. Rather than going to a hospital, Diddy arranged for a private doctor, ensuring no one else would know about the incident. Bonds recalls feeling helpless in that moment, realizing the full extent of Diddy's control over Kim and others who depended on him. This wasn't the only instance he witnessed abuse. Bonds remembers other times where arguments would escalate quickly, leaving those around Diddy feeling powerless. Jennifer Lopez's close call. Jennifer Lopez's relationship with Diddy was a whirlwind of glamour and media attention, but it nearly turned into a nightmare after the infamous 1999 nightclub shooting. That night, gunshots erupted in Club New York, leaving 3 people injured and Lopez fleeing the scene with Diddy in a hurry. While she was quickly cleared of any involvement, the incident left her shaken and opened her eyes to the dangers of staying in a relationship where chaos seemed to follow. And now, as lawsuits continue to mount against him, a clearer picture is beginning to emerge. The claims come not only from high-profile figures like Cassie and Jennifer Lopez, but also from lesser-known individuals who allege they too were mistreated or abused. These lawsuits represent only a glimpse of the possible harm he inflicted, a collection of voices that have grown louder over time, each carrying a piece of a larger, darker legacy. But the full extent of the damage may never truly be known, as countless others have likely chosen to remain silent, wary of speaking out against someone as powerful as Diddy. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, remember to check out this next video as well.